Around 4 years ago, I started working on Fade, a third-person action dark fantasy RPG that wanted to combine Dark Souls' combat system with the story and the personality of Fable. The only bad thing was I didn't realize there was a shift that was taking place in terms of early access. I put Fade in early access back in the olden days, that would have been fine, but in the new age, corporations own early access. Corporations being AAA.
Corps have long controlled our lives, taken lots, and now they're after our souls.
They put out games that are 90% done to make the fan base their QA team and make some extra change before they launch their projects. Which just isn't bad, but it definitely isn't good for indie creators because early access used to be a method for you to kind of gauge influence and the ideas of what other people had for your project. It gave you a general idea of what people wanted and what you could do to improve your project for other people who basically just really be looking for your kind of game. Regardless of this, during Fade's time in early access, I learned a ton about Unreal Engine, what players need and want in RPGs, and most importantly, Fade's DNA, which really took from both of those different games it was inspired by, as well as early on in the start, I kind of was really passionate about Dragon's Dogma, but we eventually had to drop the team element. Now, deep below any 10-page game design document is game feel, something you only get by putting it together and really trying to see how the parts mesh together. In addition to Unreal making it easy to test builds, I was able to use Steam's early access to get player feedback, as well as have a testing ground for bugs and other errors that other people run into on those machines that I wouldn't see. This was definitely made apparent when I attempted to join a Rogue Game Jam competition, basically to compete against other game devs, where I realized that my game had the qualities I would need to win the competition, but just didn't have any of the polish I would need. And that's how we get this clip here, where they go over my gameplay.
Sinking hundreds of hours into epic fantasy RPGs is how plenty of us spend our time, but our next guest took it one step further and started making his own. Joining us from Roanoke, Virginia is Houston M. Gwyn Holmes from Night by Night Games, the one-man dev team behind Fade, the first chapter. Welcome and hello.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, Houston, what has 12 legs and a ton of feedback and questions about Fade? That's right, it's our judges.
Houston, great to meet you. This game is right up my alley. The piece that I need you to answer for me is to clear up a question, because in all of the material, it framed it as being a multiplayer type of experience. And yet what we played, it seems it's going to be more of a single player experience with NPCs. So just help me understand exactly what your vision is.
Early on in development, I wanted to try to do multiplayer, but essentially I wanted to make sure that everything was perfect in terms of the combat system and different features, since I'm working on it solo. Definitely for now, I kind of want to focus on it being a single player experience to make sure it's all just one, really solid product.
I clearly didn't do my homework. I was for sure this game was developed by 20 to 30 people. I'm just blown away that this has just been a labor of love for you and a passion project, and you can feel it come through the gameplay. I'm looking forward to watching your career over the next few years, because if this is any indication, you're going places and it's going to be amazing. My question's you've got so much of it figured out and it's come together really nicely. What's been the most challenging part of the development process for you?
Though the judges spoke highly of Fade, we ended up getting third place. And it was clear that Fade, among the other games, just didn't have the same amount of polish as the others did, even if it did have more vision or just had more things that were going to be in the game. This was the last nail in the coffin that told me I needed to start over from scratch with all the new stuff I had learned. Now, after a lot of testing and learning, we get to Fade's current state. We have a demo, a little content after the demo for those that purchased it in early access, and now Fade's newest trailer.
In the land of Beltane, a long shadow has been cast, tearing the residents from their homes. Awaken as the Chosen, a champion with no memory of their past, but a shared destiny with the twisted fate of the land. Across Beltane, each of its 4 settlements, Whisper, Celeste, Solemn, and Alvash, have each become plagued by a different curse. Behind each struggle lies a homunculus emissary, crafted to emulate the greatest sins of man. Collect rare armor and find legendary weapons. Defeat horrific foes with various fighting styles and weapon options. Fight tooth and nail before it's too late, or all things shall fade.
You told me once before, it's the way of the world. All is right in God's design. Then let's see what God has to say.
Fade.
Good, right? At least I kind of feel like it's good. I did a lot of the work on this one, so I'm still kind of iffy on it, but people do like it, and at this current moment, 211 people feel so as well about it being good. Currently, Fade is currently 95% funded on Kickstarter and about to punch through it to its goal. Afterwards, we're on our way to our stretch goals, additional content, a more complex character creator, and possibly multiplayer hang in the balance for us reaching those goals. Each of which will require me to bring more to the table, but with more funding, I'd be able to finally go full time and really work on this project. Those that head to the Kickstarter page can get a crack at earning our early bird rewards, learning more about the team, and the ways they can also be featured on the Kickstarter page as other content creators that have played Fade as well. My favorite part of the page has to be our featured voice actors and a huge asset to the team, Haptics Motion Capture. Before we close out the video, here's a little about Fade and what you can expect in the final game. Fade's story combines elements of Fullmetal Alchemist and Fable. Fade revolves around the nation of Baltaine and its settlements in need of dire help. Homunculus emissaries have arrived and are offering thousands of mortal souls up in hopes of achieving their grand goal, opening a door to the dark realm known as the Fade, the land where light meets shadow and all of the world's horrors are locked away. In the game, you'll travel between all of Fade's 5 settlements, defeat each of the homunculus representing the 7 deadly sins, and prevent their grand ritual from sacrificing the entire country, all while discovering the secret to who you are and why you're connected to the land. Now, for the gameplay, the combat revolves around you finding aura mantles, relinking the teleportation network that connects Baltaine, solving side quests, and opening up shortcuts, fighting off horrific homunculus creations and minions, living armors, lichens, bandits, tree ant demons, and some other horrors as well. You'll be dodging, rolling, parrying, guarding, and managing your stamina to cast powerful magic or weapon skills to take down foes in your way, which is how we still kept some of the inspiration that we had originally from Dragon's Dogma. So if you're already sold on the project and what you've seen so far in this video, head to the Kickstarter and pick up some early bird rewards to get the most bang for your buck. Or if you're really enthused, pledge for the higher tiers and get a handcrafted statue and a physical copy of the game, all hand designed, all handmade. But that being said, until then, for the most part, I'm just going to be doing social media posts and basically trying to get the word out there for Fade to see how big we can get to these stretch goals, so we can try to expand the project further. While all this is going on, that's my job for the most part, but in this case, here's yours. If you've watched this video for this long, definitely make sure to go check out the Kickstarter page, or if you aren't convinced yet what the game's called, go ahead and head to Steam to go ahead and try the demo. In addition, if you want to check out other things, you can find us on Patreon, Twitter, and in addition, you can also join our Discord to find out more information about the game and chat with our community. And lastly, if you have any questions regarding game development, the industry, or about Fade in general, put in the comments below. We'll discuss further, and just make sure to like and subscribe so you can follow our journey. Lastly, here's a word from our very first voice actor we ever recruited from the project nearly 4 years ago. Nathaniel's going to tell you about the project in his own words.
The purpose of this Kickstarter is to get funding to expand our team. With a talented 3D artist who can craft Fade's 10 unique boss designs and a slew of other baddies, and to breathe life into Fade's side content and world. Fade has been in development for 3 years in early access and is built by your feedback. With 10,000 plus wish lists on Steam, We're running this Kickstarter in hopes of speeding up our development pipeline and delivering you Fade in its entirety in just 2 years. So, what do you say? Help us make Fade a full-time job and join us on our journey. So what do you say? Help us make Fade a... I get this feeling that I'm just hamming it up a little bit too much at times. Like, feel free to... gather Aura, the life force that brings magic. I think there is a little error on the script there. I'm assuming it's the life force that brings magic, its bite, not the life force that brings magic. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be reading this entire script incorrect.